All right, what up, what up, what up, what up, doe, beautiful people? Your boy JB Ricks, a.k.a. The Ricks Review, in the building for another edition of the Ricks Review podcast. And I have the most special guest joining me on this episode or whatnot, a big brother of mine, a mentor of mine. He's also got he co-hosts the #1 sports talk radio show in the state of Michigan with 97.1 The Ticket, 2 to 6, Monday through Friday. Him and Mike Valentino getting down, talking sports all day. Mike Valenti. Valenti. Forgive me on that one. But this right here is the one and only Rico Beard. Thank you so much, man, for taking out the time, to sit here and talk some Michigan State athletics. How's everything going for you, big bro?
Good, man. Good. I appreciate you having me on. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and do it, man. Let's get right into it. You already know what the big story is. And, you're a fellow Spartan dog, and you've been on this Spartan beat for a very, very long time. And you know what's going on with the sanctions that came down from the NCAA this week. Just so our viewers that are watching, I'll just go ahead and update them real quick. Basically, Michigan State got 3 years probation. 14 of their wins were vacated from the past 3 seasons. They've got a $30,000 fine plus 1.5% of the program's budget, restrictions on official and unofficial visits, recruiting person days, etc. Mel Tucker and former GM Saeed Khalif and former assistant also were given show cause penalties. So the NCAA came down from all of the madness that went down during the Mel Tucker era. You were here. You were in the thick of that when it was all going down. I was still stuck in North Carolina getting all my information from you. I remember having those phone conversations with you when all of that Mel Tucker saga was going down, man. But what more can you say, or what more can you tell us about these sanctions that came down on Michigan State and the current state of the football program right now?
I mean, really, it's kind of funny, JB, because they got hit with all of these different things, and it looks as if they cheated, but it's just like, you guys couldn't even cheat with flair. Like, Michigan cheated. They cheated. Mm-hmm. They stole signs. They had people impersonating other coaches at games. The irony is one of the wins that you have to vacate was the Central Michigan game when the Michigan staffer was dressed up as a Central Michigan guy. Mm-hmm. All of this was over a little under 14 grand when you look at the whole thing. Mm-hmm. But you got to dig a little deeper when it comes to what just happened here. Because initially, you're like, man, how are they going to hit Michigan State like this when they didn't do Michigan this way? But if you go a little deeper with this, now it could be one or two avenues. Either, A, J-Bat and President Guskowitz playing chess, playing 3D chess. Long game. Let's go ahead, because it was the legal department who brokered this deal. It wasn't J-Bat. It wasn't the president. It was the legal department. Yeah. Let's take this deal. But with this, it's because monetarily, I think Michigan State is going to end up paying a fine of about 200 grand, which is peanuts. Because the people are like, oh, it's 1% of the football. Okay, fine. Seriously, in the end, it's about 200 grand. Yeah. 3-year show cause, 3-year probation. They vacated wins from 3 years where they didn't do nothing. I said, make it a BOGO. You're going to take the wins, take the losses too. Take it all, because nobody cares. Now, if you do this, you now officially have on the record something that you can go ahead and say, well, this is why we fired Mel Tucker. Because there were some in the Michigan State hierarchy who really were fearful about how this thing was going to go, because Mel Tucker's like, well, y'all owe me $85 million. They're like, we don't owe you nothing, because you kind of just squandered it all away in a hotel room with some virtual sex. But there were some who said, okay, Mel's going to come back and be like, that was my own personal thing. That had nothing to do with me at the university. So did he have a case? You're seeing the same thing going on with Brian Kelly at LSU.
Yeah, well, absolutely.
If you now have this on the record, and you got to be Cersei Lannister, and you got to take the walk of shame down Grand River while they yelling shame, shame, shame. Okay, yeah. Once you get back in the football building, guess what? We now have on the record from the NCAA signed documents saying this happened under Mel Tucker. We can say this is a great show cause. So if he tries to sue us, no, Mel, you got in trouble. We owe you nothing. So the shame And the 200 grand means you keep 80 million in your pocket. 80 million now that if you need to fire your coach, you got money for a buyout, or you got money to spend on bringing in other athletes. See, the thing is, a lot of people didn't realize this school was handicapped because of Mel Tucker, because they didn't know how much they were going to have to pay him. I think this is why they took that. So now they can sit there and be like, bro, you get nothing. You get nothing but what you left there with, and your wife took half of that, and then your agent took another part of that. So congratulations with whatever $2 million you finished with in your pocket. Go start your life all over again, because I think he's down in Arizona. Or MSU is just the stupidest program ever, and they took this deal because the NCAA is the equivalent of the Washington Generals. They don't win anything. You should have took a page from Michigan and just – the NCAA is the equivalent of a mall cop trying to stop you, saying, hey, come here. And you're like, yeah, you're not a real cop. I'm going to my car. No, you better stop. No, I'm going to keep going because you have no power, no jurisdiction, no nothing. Yeah. I think it's the former and not the latter, or the latter, not the former. I think Michigan State knew this is what we need. Now we don't. If Mel Tucker takes us to court, we know we have all legal rights. Because remember, the legal department negotiated this. It wasn't the AD. Now, they rather keep the wins because they were shocked when they was like, wait, y'all gave away the wins. But then once again, it makes sense. The legal department doesn't care about wins and losses. They care about what? Money. They save themselves money. Okay, well, you vacated wins, 5 wins, 4 wins, and 5 wins. Okay. No bowl games, no championships, no Big Ten titles. There was nothing. Like, I would check. The only game that people get angry about was the Central Michigan game, because it's just ironic that Michigan got hit with nothing, and you lost the game that actually started the whole Michigan downfall. Well, supposed downfall. So other than that, it looks bad on paper. I mean, did the NCAA overreach? Yeah, because the NCAA needed a win. And finally, some school was ready to show their belly, and Michigan State did, but I think it was a calculated move. Yeah, okay, for Spartan fans, you're going to get angry, but here's the thing. For Spartan fans, you got to stop living your life based on what your Michigan friends say to you. Look at the bigger picture. You've now released yourself from this. If you need to fire Jonathan Smith, you can. Or you could take this money and actually give Jonathan Smith some players, because Jonathan Smith was promised things when he first got there that he never got. He was promised more financial support. Now, I think it's a bridge too far. I think that I don't know if I want him shopping for the groceries anymore, because he just doesn't look like he inspires anybody. JB, I know I'm long-winded here.
No. Keep going, brother. Keep going.
I'll land the plane. What happened was, in the end, look, I was at the Michigan game, and at the Michigan game, he really wasn't the coach. At the Michigan game, you know, the DC came down there, and he was firing up the team, and he high-fiving, and he doing all this. Joe Rossi was leading that team. They were gaining their inspiration from him, and I'm like, I don't think this man can inspire the team. He may be a good person. He may be, you know, a great coach. He's a bad fit at MSU, and that's where Bat's going to have to figure out. Because look, Bat's trying to do a $500 million fundraising thing. If I got that type of money, I don't know if I want to invest in this guy. He's shown me nothing. And in theory, he now has 0 Big Ten wins, because all the wins that he got last year got taken away.
Gone.
He's got nothing. He's not an inspiring force. His way really, it doesn't work here. I mean, you know, when he had to be, you know, people tried to tell him about the Michigan game last year, and he was just like, well, you know, we played Oregon, so I kind of know what it is. We're like, man, it ain't like that. I'm telling you, it ain't like that. It ain't like that. It ain't like that. And then at the end of the game, well, you guys tried to tell me it wasn't like that. Once again, if you bring him back, are people going to renew their season tickets? I know a lot of people who say, no, I'm not renewing my season tickets. If you bring him back, are you going to go out? What recruit's going to want to come to you, because they're thinking you're a dead man walking? So you're going to end up with pretty much nothing. And the unfortunate part is, like it or not, Kirk Cignetti he's the new barometer. He came in 2 years, and he's about to take an Indiana team. Indiana, not Ohio State, not Penn State, not Oregon, not Nebraska. Indiana. Indiana was a bottom feeder in the Big Ten. Indiana had a worse record than Michigan State when they fired their coach. Indiana is now going to back playoffs. Okay. Indiana may be the best team in the nation, and you are struggling to just get to 500 in the same amount of time. Indiana, you mean to tell me Indiana has more money than you? No. But they got a coach who came in saying, Google me, I win. That's all I do. You come in and you got the personality of rice cakes dipped in water.
Speak on it. Speak on it. And, you know, when it comes to Curt Cignetti, I did get to cover him for 1 year while I was down in North Carolina. He actually coached at Elon for a year, and then he immediately was up out of there. James Madison, I believe, came and swooped him up or whatnot, man. So, like he said, Google me. This is all I do is win. I want to go back to when, you know, Michigan State was in the market to hire that new head coach, which ended up being Jonathan Smith. You speak highly on Curt Cignetti as far as him kind of like being somebody who should have been a top candidate during that time. Well, I was down in North Carolina during that transition, and Mike Elko was tearing it up with the Duke Blue Devils. Basically the same thing what Curt Cignetti is doing in Indiana. Mike Elko did that down in Duke, and I had a front row seat. So when it was time for Michigan State to go ahead and move on and get that new head coach, I know you were thinking about Curt Cignetti. I was screaming at Michigan State, everybody, whoever could hear me, to go after Mike Elko.
See, the thing is, though, Michigan State wasn't going to be financially. Look, I'd say, from what I've heard, Jonathan Smith was promising things he didn't get. Mike Elko was promised things, and he got those promises. You going up against oil money, that landman type of money down in Texas.
Oh, absolutely.
They put the money where their mouth was, whereas Michigan State was going to go on the humble and they were going to cheap. Jonathan Smith, I laugh because I think Jonathan Smith took the job probably 8 days before he should have, because he's a West Coast guy. Had he waited, all of a sudden, a couple jobs opened up out there. Had he waited, all of a sudden, the UCLA job opened up, which he really wanted. And then the Washington job opened up because DeBoer went to Alabama, and it happened. But he knew, I don't have a conference, so I better take something, because something beats nothing. I don't want to end up coaching in D2. Had he waited, he would have probably either had UCLA or he would have had Washington, where he was the offensive coordinator. I think he would have loved those jobs better. It would have been a better fit for him. He took the money. He's here, and he's just. I thought maybe he could do something, but it's just his personality. It's just like, you know, fans wanted to rally around him, but you've given us nothing. And I think he really lost people last year after that Michigan game, because you could have took an early lead, you didn't. Somehow or another, your team forgot that Colston Loveland, who ended up being the number 10 pick of the draft, was on the field. Let him get behind the defense. You score. And then at the end of the game, Michigan, punks you out on the field, and you out there shaking hands and really nothing to say. You didn't stand up for your program. Remember, what made D'Antonio was after his first Michigan game, and Mike Hart started popping off at the mouth, he popped back. And then he came back with the whole, like, well, who's the real little brother here? I mean, he's kind of short. And fans was like, whoa, we got a coach with some balls. Okay, now I like this guy. And they rallied around him. He just he's yet to do anything to inspire. And I think the worst part about it is, if he tried, it would be fake, because it wouldn't be him. Like, it wouldn't even look right. I mean, this team has got boned in the last 2 games by the referees, and he just sat there and took it. Yeah. And it was just like, come on, man. The Michigan game all changed. They jumped, they got the snap time perfectly. They get Underwood to fumble, and they get the ball back, and momentum could have swung things, because Michigan hadn't scored since that first drive. Instead, Michigan scores, they win the game, and then in Minnesota, it's a blatant pass interference penalty. The referees just get together and just say, nah, like, well, he was tugging on his jersey. Yeah, but no. And then they come back later and do the worst thing ever. The Big Ten pretty much apologize. Like, don't apologize to me, because that's even worse. Like, So you knew you were wrong. I don't get to win, and now I just get the pat on the head, and we got you next time. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you bring up some amazing points, especially when it comes to Jonathan Smith. You got to have that fire when you're coaching at a program like Michigan State, because we do need to put in that extra effort. We got to have that extra level of energy when we go up against our opponents, and we need that energy to come from our head coach, not our defensive coordinator. It's got to come from our head coach. And I noticed that about Jonathan Smith from day one. He just seemed too mild-mannered. I never thought that he was going to be a good fit for a gritty Big Ten school like Michigan State, coming from the West Coast and all that, and, adapting to the Midwest and, being accustomed to the rivalries that are here and how important, these rivalries are, these games are. And I just haven't seen him really take on that role of being that coach who can really inspire these guys to go out here and go above and beyond in a conference where you are considered to be middle tier. So that definitely, in my opinion, is an extreme weakness for him, and it's not going to bode well for him once we get to the end of the season and those evaluations come out and all these points that you just brought up and everything else that we all are seeing. He doesn't have that fire to be the head coach of a team that needs that extra oomph, to become a contender in a very tough Big Ten conference. So
now saying that, as the days go on, especially after what the NCAA did, I wouldn't be shocked if they give him one more year, because you have to ask yourself, what coach wants to come to Michigan State now that they're in the middle of a 3-year thing? Yeah. So it may have given him another year. Now, next year's schedule is going to be worse, because you're going to have to play real teams. This is the year to actually surprise people. I thought maybe they can go 8-4. Next year, you're going to get some of the big boys back on your schedule. I think Oregon comes to MSU. I think Washington comes to MSU. I think Penn State's back on the schedule. And I don't know if it's Ohio State or not, but in the end, it's okay, how does this team get better? I mean, Aiden Childs was supposed to be that guy, except for he got benched. Yeah. Let's just call it what it is. And then you used him in this weird way, because you brought him in to take the snap at the end of the half, and then he's not. So, I just got a feeling if he comes back, I think a guy like Nick Marsh leaves. I think if he comes, I think Aiden Childs will be gone. Like, nobody gets better on this team. Nobody has gotten better. Like, they have no NFL players. And the one thing that I've learned covering college football, the better teams have players that are getting ready to go to the next level. You look at D'Antonio, when no teams was around, he had guys that went to the league. Even if you go to the league for a cup of coffee, you still went to the league. Right now, you probably have Nick Marsh is the only guy that will make it in the league. And he's probably a 6th or 7th round pick, if you want to be honest, because he can't get separation. So this is why you're losing all the time, because you don't have anybody special. When Michigan State went 11-2 that year, they had an NFL player in K9. They had Jalen Naylor. They had Jaden Reed. These are guys that are still playing. You see where I'm going with this?
Absolutely. And that's definitely what it's going to take. You got to bring in the talent, and like Jonathan Smith just doesn't have that aura about him, in my opinion. He just doesn't have that aura that's going to attract student athletes. He doesn't have that energy or whatnot. And I hear where you're coming from when you say he might end up getting another year, because what other coach is going to want to come in and clean this mess up? There might be somebody out there. You know what I mean? There might be a James Franklin who might be itching to get James back into.
Let me just stop.
I'm just throwing a name out there. I'm just throwing a name out there.
Let me throw it back. Let me throw it back. Because James Franklin knows I'm the prettiest girl at the dance. And unless you come in with something strong, James Franklin has top schools. He's got Florida out there. He's got LSU. He's got bigger schools that he could go to that are willing to pay him the money. Michigan State's not going to pay him that money. Yeah. I get what you're saying. Like, for Michigan State, you're probably looking at either some guy coming from a group of 5, or you're looking at a coordinator job, because I don't think that they're ready for the big boy league. Like, look, a lot of people didn't believe me, but look, I had it from multiple sources that had they really ponied up the money 2 years ago, Urban Meyer was interested in this job. Urban Meyer was ready to come here, but Urban Meyer needed promises, and he needed them in writing, not for what they did to Jonathan Smith. He was like, if you're willing to put the money into this program, I will come. It was the perfect spike job for him. He wanted to stick it to Ohio State, and he hated Michigan. So I'm going to take this, kind of like Cignetti, I'm going to take Michigan State, and I'm going to make them a powerhouse. And then you'll see how good I am. They didn't want to pony up that type of money because he said, he knew then, in order to win, you need money. I got to be able to go out and buy players. Look at Texas Tech. They spent $7 million on the defensive line. There's a reason why Texas Tech is going to the playoffs. It's the reason why teams can't move the ball against them, because they went out in the portal and they snatched up the best line that anybody could buy with that $7 million. State looked like they bought, 7 sandwiches from Jersey Giant and just passed them out.
I got you on that one, man. Yeah, you're 100%, man. Like, you got to be willing to pony up. Let me ask you this. Do you think it's too late to go after an Urban Meyer or somebody who can come in and at least be kind of like a transition for the next 2 to 3 years or whatever, going through the probation or whatever and coming in here and just having fun with the opportunity? Do you think we can go out there and get an Urban Meyer type of coach right now?
No, I don't, because Michigan State, JB, look at this. The teams that win have one thing in common.
What's that?
And I bet they don't care. Michigan State cares too much about their image. They care too much about what Michigan people say about them, and we want to look good. Michigan, Jim Harbaugh, when he was about to get fired, said, I don't care anymore. And they're going to talk bad about me, and they're going to talk bad about us, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to spit shine that trophy. And they didn't care. You look at the SEC teams. Well, you guys cheat. And? Well, yeah. And they'll say, you know what? We just wanted more. And that's their slogan. Yeah. That's literally their slogan, the SEC. We just wanted more. And they mean that. They wanted more. Michigan State's not willing to concede and just hand Urban a check and get out of his way. Because that's the other thing.
Get out of the way.
Get out of my way. You ain't going to like some of the things you see. You ain't going to like some of the things you hear. But you know what you're going to like? Packed stands, NFL players on the field, and a bunch of trophies in the trophy case. But they're not willing to commit that way because they want to do it the right way. And I will simply say there is no right way. The right way is a myth. It's gone. Like, seriously,
especially
I keep going back
now
to Michigan, and it's not to pile upon them. They did nothing the right way. They got the title, and the NCAA is afraid to take it away from them, and they get to keep it. So they say cheaters never win and never prosper. They won, and they prospered. So why are you trying to do it the right way? It doesn't matter. They went out and bought their quarterback at the last second. Why? Because they could. So Michigan State hasn't hit that mentality. They're still trying to be good, clean, and wholesome, and this is a dirty business. Okay.
Oh, especially now.
You trying to be the most clean kept prostitute in the brothel. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. You offering discounts.
Speak that fire right there, Mr. Beard. Speak that fire. You are 100% right on that, man. This is why I gotta have you on this podcast as my Michigan State guy, because you know your stuff 100%. No question,
we laugh
man. Like
about it, but really,
no.
Right now, college football is just boats and hoes. Like, you just got to get people in on your team, no matter what. It doesn't matter.
100%.
There is no, we're gonna be like, no. We've all sold our soul. So just throw caution to the wind. And if you get caught cheating, sit there and say, okay, and what you gonna do? There's no penalty. Pay the fine. Michigan had to pay $30 million for a national title. That's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
We're trying to pay $30 million to buy a coach out. They paid $30 million for a trophy. Think about that.
No. You're spot on with that. It's the wild, wild west right now in college sports. And right now, our program, Michigan State, we're stuck on a beach out in D.C. right now, man. We're stuck on a beach out in Virginia. Wild, wild west, and we're not getting in the fight. You're absolutely right. We got to get into this fight because that's what everybody else is doing. And until some type of governing body gets control of this whole NIL and transfer portal mess or whatever, until that time comes, Michigan State's got to get in the game, man. And you're absolutely right. They got to start spinning that coin. And you know they got it. You know what I
They
mean?
got it.
So
And Bat was
you know they
in,
got it.
and Bat has brought in all his people, and they're trying to raise
Mm-hmm.
money. You're about to see an upgrade and maybe even a naming rights to the facilities. So,
Okay.
for the stadium. So they're trying to spend like a couple $100 million because Spartan Stadium needs a desperate upgrade. But you're not going to get
Absolutely.
that if you win. Man, people will throw money at you. But when
Yeah.
you're losing, it's a bad investment. Like, well, why? So
Yeah.
they got to figure out what they're going to do, what they want to be when they grow up.
Yeah, when they grow up, absolutely. You just said the key words right there, and it remains to be seen. We will be watching. Hopefully, we will watch them grow up before our very own eyes through the remainder of this year, through the off season next year, and just moving forward. Because we just hate being in this position. You are fellow Spartans or whatever, and you're right. We got to deal. We got to deal with the Michigan alumni. We got to deal with the Walmart Wolverines out here talking all that smack or whatever. I shut them down with the quickness, with no problem or whatever. But we want to be back in that position like we were when we had K9 coming through here running all over these boys for 5 touchdowns or whatnot, because it just feels good to be able to walk through the streets of Michigan with your chest puffed out or whatever, knowing that your alma mater, knowing that your team got it done over the arch rival. And I want those glory days back. I want them back desperately. So whatever it is we got to do to inspire them to get into the game, join the Wild Wild West party, start spinning that coin, whatever it is you got to do to bring in the right guy to lead this program to a better place of contention in the Big Ten, then that's what needs to be done. So we'll see how it all plays out, but I'm not really optimistic right now. I'll be honest with you, Rico. I'm not very optimistic.
I mean, everything can
all.
change in a year. I mean, the teams can
It
flip.
can.
I mean, this is, college sports is community college. You can be bad one year and great the next. There's
true.
no continuity. There's how much are you willing to spend? And Nick Saban said, and then did you buy the right players? Because you could spend a ton of money. Miller Moss at Louisville, they spent a ton of money on him. He sucks. So you could buy somebody, and if he doesn't work out, man, you look bad. But if you go out there and you land, like if you're Fernando Mendoza at Indiana, they went out, bought him. He's about to win a Heisman. So
yes, he is.
It just depends. You have to be able to do some talent to scout and develop the talent and pick out the right people. You get it right, you can flip things around instantly. You get it wrong, and you're where we are now.
Yep. Here we are right now, man. So here's hoping for a brighter future. But like I said, we'll see what happens. I'm not as optimistic, but I like the optimism I'm hearing from you. So we'll just go with that flow right there. Let's switch gears, Rico. Let's move over to a sport where we do have some positive vibes to speak on. We do have a legendary Hall of Fame coach leading a program that exemplifies consistency. Throughout the Big Ten and throughout the country. Michigan State hoops, we back in this thing or whatever with basketball season up and running. Now that we're a couple weeks into the season, Michigan State already off to a great start so far. They got a big win over Arkansas at home this past week. So, that definitely vaulted them up in the polls a little bit or whatnot. But there's still a few people out there who are looking at them like, hey, we don't know what to expect out of this team because we did lose some valuable talent from last year. But you know what? We did gain some talent with this class too. So I know that you have had a front row seat at a couple of their games that you've been able to be a part of so far. And I really want to know, what have you been able to see? I can sit here and talk about what I've been able to see on the screen from the Arkansas game, but you had a front row seat. What are you seeing with our boys this year? I know we got a stud freshman, and I definitely want you to talk about him, what you're seeing with him, because I love what I'm seeing for him so far. He actually had 18 points off the bench in that Arkansas win. So this kid can play. Cam Ward, 6'8", 225 out of Maryland. Tell the Spartan Dog faithful, man, what you thinking about that stud freshman we got on the roster right now?
Well, it's funny because both freshmen actually came from Maryland. So him and Jordan Scott both are from the same. They didn't play each other, but they're both from the same area out in Maryland, in the DMV area. Cam Ward, he's a big body, like 6'7", 6'8". He can hold his own. I saw when he came in that he was going to get some playing time. Now, his only problem is he's got to work on his free throws because he becomes a liability at the end of games where you cannot put him in because he is horrific at the free throw line. But he's got a knack for going up and getting the rebounds. The the best way I can put it, he's almost garbage time. And I'm not saying he's like this, but it was almost like the Raymar Morgan, Draymond Green, where you're not designing plays for him. He's just getting the rebound putbacks, or he's just happened to be around the basket getting the easy dunks. Like, they're not running these set plays to free him up. He doesn't have this great jumper. As a matter of fact, he took a three, and Izzo was like, and then I told him, no more threes for you, okay? Until we work on that, you ain't doing that. You know what? You live right here in the paint. You'll be fine. And that's what he did.
Old school.
Jordan Scott was the other freshman that they really like. They compare him to a lot of Max Christie. Okay. He had 2 key rebounds in the game that I think a lot of people really overlooked, but he got 2 key rebounds, but it wasn't that he got well, first of all, he found a way to get the ball. He wasn't the biggest guy in the paint, but he got the ball. But it was what he did afterwards. He didn't panic. He didn't just try to get rid of it like a hot potato. He said, let me get it to the right person. Let me play under control. And for a true freshman going up against that Arkansas team, State's freshmen did well. Arkansas freshmen at the end of the game, Calipari said they went out there and played hero ball, and that's why they lost. So I like what I'm seeing there. When I look at this Michigan State team, I'm hoping that Ward or Scott can become that Jace Richardson, because I still look at this team and they're really good, but they're really good role players. There's no real stars on this team. If I say it right here, right now, if Arkansas was up by 1 with 10 seconds to go, who shoots the ball? If you say Fears, well, he was 0 for 9 in that game. Okay.
Horrible game for him.
They don't have that guy who's the star. They're a team full of great role players. And then all of a sudden last year, everything flipped when Jace got in out of necessity, because I think somebody got sick and he had to play. And then it was like, okay, my man who transferred to North Carolina State, Trey Holloman. Trey Holloman, I think, got sick. So Jace had to play for him against Oregon. And then they found out, wow, Jace went out there kind of like Cam Ward. I think he scored like almost 20 points in that game, and he never sat down.
I remember that game. Yep.
You need somebody to step up. You need somebody to be that guy to help them get over the top. Because in the Big Ten, I mean, you got a lot of teams out there. Now, last year, they worked. They surprised everybody. They won the Big Ten by 3 games. They were picked to finish 7th or 8th in the Big Ten. But as you saw at the end, when they played against Auburn, they didn't have the horses to go up against Auburn. So that's the thing. They're not great three-point shooting team as well. They're still trying to find their way. Now, the thing is, they're going to go up against Kentucky. They're going to go up against North Carolina during the Thanksgiving Day holiday. And then they got Duke at the crib. And then they got a couple Big Ten games. I think they play Penn State and Iowa before January starts. And as Izzo said, they're still trying to figure out exactly what they are. I mean, you're going to find out what Kentucky is. I mean, they just lost to Louisville, but Louisville beat Kentucky. Well, first of all, it was at the Yum Center or whatever you call it now.
Yeah.
And they made, I want to say they made 16 3-pointers. Well, once again, Michigan State's not hitting 3-pointers. So if that's the recipe to beat Kentucky, well, that's not a good thing for MSU. So you're going to find out he's still trying to juggle the lineup, still trying to find the different pieces. It's why he plays these types of games. I don't know what this team is going to be, but he's being scrappy right now, and they're just trying to get the different players in there. He's best when he only has 7 or 8 players that he could play. Right now, he could play about 11 players. Well, he's got to try to pare this thing down and find the best 7 or 8 players and really run through those guys and give. Like Jackson Kohler is a guy that when he plays up against lesser talent, he's great. When he plays up against athletic people, he's horrible. He gets punked. I mean, he just really he's got the he's frustrating because he doesn't have to be that way. He's got the talent, but it's here. Well, all of a sudden, it reminds me a lot of Paul Davis back in the day. And I used to say, Paul Davis was going to tell you what kind of game he had. If Paul Davis got the ball and leaned towards the basket when he shot, he felt like he could take that guy. If he got the ball and it was all fadeaways, that meant he wasn't trying to feel the smoke. And the same with Kohler. Kohler does the same. Watch it. In games where Kohler goes to the basket aggressively and he shoots the ball, just catch and release, he's on. But in games where he stops and thinks about it, he's shooting fadeaways, those are games, in my opinion, he doesn't feel like he can beat his defender. and that's problematic.
Yeah, you kind of beat me. You already got to me because I was going to ask you who can kind of be that player. You know, you got the Jeremy Fears, you got the Cam Ward, you got the other freshman you were speaking of, you got Coen Carr and whatnot. And I was going to ask you who is another player that can kind of step up. But before we get to that, I want to go back to Jeremy Fears because coming into this season, I was hearing a lot of noise and a lot of talk about Jeremy Fears kind of coming in, stepping in, and being that leader and being that go-to guy, being the one that you could go to in the clutch. Now, obviously, a little bit of the sizzle came off of that after his 0 for 7, 0 for 9 game against Arkansas or whatnot. But hey, maybe it was just a one-off. Maybe it was just a bad game because I know he had 10 assists before that, and I believe 14 points in the previous game. So like he has the talent to go out here and really be a true leader and maybe be that guy who we can go to in the clutch. But you know, are you a little thrown off of that performance that he had against Arkansas? Or does he still have time to develop, you know, with the potential that he has to be the leader that we need him to be?
I mean, Fears just needs a finishing move. He needs a go-to finishing move. You can't just go to the basket and just try to lay it up because your shot is going to get blocked. You got to have something, whether it's a fadeaway, whether it's high off the glass. It was the thing that made Cassius Winston special. Cassius was not the most athletic person, but he had a finishing move that you couldn't stop. Fears doesn't have that. Fears just goes at the basket and throws the ball up there, and then he makes his points off the free throw line, which is good. But if he can do a pump fake, if he can do something and get the ball, and he's not a three-point shooting guy, but he will get aggressive. He will get you in foul trouble. He will attack the basket. He just has to find a move to get the ball in the basket and not just throw it up against 7-footers and have it thrown into the third row. So that's the thing about Fears. Is he the leader of the team? Yeah, he's the leader of the team. Yeah. But he's got to do more or else he's going to end up becoming an athletic tum-tum.
Yeah. Absolutely. I hope that can change, man, because you're right. We need that player that we can go to in the clutch, and I'm hoping it'll be Fears. If it's not going to be Fears, I'm hoping, you know, maybe one of the freshmen or Coen Carr. Like, we know he's just a sick athlete. We know he can dunk or whatever, but how is he going to?
Another one is the shooting guard Kurt Tang. Kurt Tang didn't play in the Louisville game because Kurt Tang's defense is bad, so they couldn't afford to put him out there because whoever he was guarding was going to beat him. Now, in games like tonight, Kurt Tang's going to have this great game because it's Sacramento State. Once he gets defense, he could become that three-point shooter. He could become that guy that they're looking forward to having because right now, until you get somebody who can hit the three, if I'm an opposing team, I'm just going to clog up the lane and make the game ugly because I know I don't need to guard you on the three because you can't hit that three.
Yeah. What does Coen Carr need to do to develop his game to become more of an all-around player, and maybe he can be that guy we can go to in the clutch? What do you think he needs to do to develop that game? And what do you think about his NBA draft stock as well?
I don't think he has a draft stock. I think he can jump, but a lot of people in the NBA can jump.
They love the athletes in the NBA, though.
He can't. I mean, he's got to develop a jumper. He's got to develop a consistent jumper. He's got to, whether it's he goes full Rip Hamilton where he just develop a little 12 to 18-foot jumper or start hitting threes, something. Because, I'm just not going to let you drive the lane because I know. Put it this way. Every time he shoots a three-pointer, have you ever noticed there's nobody standing there?
Yeah.
There's a reason
they want him to shoot it.
There's a reason for that. Like if he hits that three, I'll live with that. Blame coach. He's got to develop a shot and make people actually come out to defend him, and then he can blow past them and dunk. But right now, you just got to make sure you stand in the way and try to catch a charge. But if he's going to shoot a jumper, if I'm the opposing coach, I won that possession. If he hits it, okay. I doubt you'll see a game where he drains 3 or 4 threes. He may hit one because his stroke is not bad, but it's wasted time and wasted energy, and I don't want you to foul this guy. Just let him shoot and let's get the rebound because if he's shooting the three, he can't get the rebound. So once again, if I'm the opposing coach, I win.
Got you. Well, I'm hoping for the best when it comes to somebody stepping up and being that alpha. We do need that alpha. We need that player that we can go to. Coen Carr, I think if he develops his game, he can be that guy we go to in the clutch. Jeremy Fears, you're already a bona fide leader. You're going to be the one with the ball in your hands at the most important times of the game, clutch time included. Yeah, get that finishing move, find a way to have that confidence to go in to the paint or whatever, draw the fouls, whatever it is that has to be done for him to be the one, our finisher, our closer. We definitely need that. It can be Jeremy Fears. It can be Coen Carr. Hey, it could be the freshman Cam Ward if he develops, you know what I mean, down there in the post and develops some nice moves in the post game or whatever. So we do need that alpha, and I think that's exactly what the team is missing, but there is time for that to develop. And with that said, like, I'm going to get you out of here on this last question. When it comes to the Big Ten overall, obviously, arguably the best conference in the country. You know, there's some other conferences you could put up there, but arguably I'm going to say the Big Ten is the best college basketball conference in the country. Michigan State coming in and defending their regular season championship, and right now you only got 3 teams that are ranked ahead of them: UCLA, Michigan, and Purdue. All 3 teams, I don't see anything that just kind of like scares me or just like makes me say, oh, I don't want to see them. I don't want to play them. None about those teams. So I know Michigan State has the talent to go out here and repeat as champions. Do you feel the same way?
I mean, it's a long season. I mean, you got to see who gets injured, who didn't. Michigan State had the luxury of not really having any major injuries last year. Yeah, I mean, Michigan State, it's, you know, styles make the fight. And for Purdue and Michigan, they turn the ball over a lot, both of those teams. For Purdue, I mean, for Michigan, Purdue's a team that's been together for a while. But once again, you speed them up, and Braden will turn that ball over. He just will. Michigan reminds me a lot of the Kentucky teams in the past, where they have accumulated a lot of good talent. They may even have a couple guys that'll go to the NBA. But when push comes to shove, you saw when they played Wake Forest, they become 5 individuals and not a team. Now everybody's trying to be the hero. Everybody's trying to be the man. Like I said, it reminded me when Kentucky used to crank out NBA player after NBA player, but it was a reason why they never won. Because when you put them in a phone booth, they would turn on each other. UCLA, I still need to see more about them. I mean, but there's other teams out there, man, that, you know, it's all in the Big Ten. It's always going to be some teams that surprise you. You know, the Ohio States, you know, always watch out for them. They got talent. Like I said, a lot just depends. It's a long 20-game season. Who gets injured, who has to play who, and when. But Michigan State has a team that I think can. Now, if they can't hit 3-point shots, they're going to get run out the gym many night. Because if a team is hot and you're not, and you can't match that fire, you're going to be in trouble. So they're going to have to go and find some scoring. I don't know if it's going to be Trey Fort. I don't know if it's going to be Kurtang. But for those 2 guys to be on the court, they got to show Izzo, I can play defense.
Yeah, play defense. Defense does win championships, defense and rebounding for sure. But on the other side of the ball, you got to score points too. And I hope this will not be an issue once we get deep into the season. But so far, Rico, I love the preseason hype that they came in with. I love the pre-regular season hype that we're giving them going into the Big Ten schedule once that time comes. I'm very confident in this basketball team, not very confident in the football team and their direction, but either way, we're going to ride or die with these boys until the wheels fall off, man. That's just how us Spartan dogs pretty much do out here, man. Listen, Rico, thank you so much, man, for taking out time. I knew you were going to come and give that wisdom, give that knowledge that you were giving to all of our Spartan faithful and everybody tuning in to the Rick's Review podcast, man. I appreciate you so much for taking out this time, man, and I hope we'll find time to do this again down the road. All
right, man. Next time, let's not make it during a Michigan State basketball game.
But You're right. Hopefully, I'll be in the stands with you when we're at those games together at the press box.
I'm like, did he realize they got a game going on at the same time we taping this?
I did, man. Busy schedule, man. We out here busy. I had to fit it in when we could.
Well, you better be lucky. I got a couple gigantic TVs in the basement, so we good.
I know you do, man. Much love, Rico. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for joining the Rick's Review podcast. You keep on doing your thing, and I'll definitely be following you along, man, as you continue to hold us down with this Spartan beat.